Hey, this is Pops. Winter Jam is this long-running Christian show with multiple artists, multiple genres that are covered. I've been a fan and supporter of this for a long time, and I love to get a chance to talk to you about it again today. Before I get to my guest, go to the end of the video and you can catch all the tour dates and information. I'll scroll through that for you so you can get tickets, find out when it'll be near you, if it's something you're interested to, and also get down into that lineup so you can know what to expect. All right, folks, with me in the house, Micah Tyler. We're going to talk some Winter Jam, some music, some behind-the-scenes stuff. Man, brother, it is so great to get a chance to chat with you again, my friend. How you been?
Dude, I am fantastic. It's the most wonderful time of the year. So thanks for having me on.
It is. You just came off some Christmas touring stuff, man. You just did some stuff out there, Newsong and stuff, man.
That's yes. Good. And Katie Nicole had a little Christmas spirit. What's funny is I literally have written and released one Christmas song. So when they called me, they said, "Hey, can you come to the Christmas thing?" I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I've got one Christmas song. I said, what happens if they don't like it? And they said, well, we'll just see how every night goes. And so luckily, my one Christmas song went well, and because they were covering everything else. And I was like, you know what? I'll go out there and just have some fun. So it was a blast for me. We got to go out and like I said, I got to go watch, a couple of Katie Nicole a Newsong shows. So it was a blast for me. It was a good time.
What is your favorite Christmas song?
You know what? The first Christian song I ever obsessed over was Mary, Did You Know? When I was a kid in fourth grade, the Michael English version just stopped me in my tracks. I think I sang it all year long. Like during the summer, the blind will speak, the deaf will inside my shower. Like I was just going for it all year long. And funny story, I don't get to tell the story very often, but so the writer of that song is Mark Lowry, who, growing up, we knew he grew up in a Christian house. So he's a comedian. We knew who that was. And he's with the Gaithers and all that kind of stuff. And so I fast forward, I'm in the middle of my career, get nominated for a few Dove Awards, including Song of the Year. And so I go to the Dove Awards. And as I'm walking to my seat, I look over and there's Mark Lowry. And I thought, if I ever got a chance to meet him, I just want to go tell him how much that song meant to me. So I walked over to Mark and I just kind of said, Mr. Lowry. And he said, yeah. And I said, hey, I just want to tell you, my name's Micah Tyler. I'm nominated for some awards tonight. And one of the reasons I do music is because Mary, Did You Know? I was just completely blown away by it as a kid. I listened to it all the time. And so now I write Christian songs. And I think to myself, maybe there's a kid who learns more about Jesus because of my writing. He said, that's amazing. He said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Texas. He said, I'm from Texas too. He said, I'm from Houston. I said, well, I live right outside of Houston. He goes, Michael, we've got to write sometimes. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is going better than I could have imagined it going. And he said, he gave me his email address. And I said, hey, do you mind if I get a picture? He said, yeah, that sounds great. So I get a picture with him. He said, Micah, tell me your name one more time. I said, it's Micah Tyler. He said, well, Micah Tyler, I'm going to be looking for your name up on that screen tonight. And I was like, this is amazing. Go to my seat. I told my wife, I said, that could not have gone any better. The night starts with Song of the Year, which I'm nominated for. So they come in, they said, the nominees for Song of the Year are, my wife grabs my hand, my parents are sitting up here, my kids are here, and all of a sudden they start announcing the nominees. And I noticed, I thought they were going in alphabetical order for the name of the song, and different should have been the first. Well, it skipped over, and I was like, well, that's weird. I thought, well, maybe they're going through names, and they're going like last names, or whatever. And they get right by the T's, and they say Zach Williams' name, and they say, and the winner is. And my song didn't get mentioned. They forgot to put my song in the category. Like I said, it was nominated. They just forgot to mention it on the air. And so they said, and the winner is Cody. I mean, it was Corey Asbury. It was Reckless Love, which I knew was going to win. I wouldn't think I was going to win, but I thought, how weird is this? Well, my phone starts going nuts. And it's my manager going like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. The label's going, oh my gosh, what happened? We're going to figure this thing out. And I'm just going like, listen, it's not that big of a deal. This is wow. And again, they were super apologetic, whatever. But Corey comes up, accepts the award, and they go to the next performance, which is Big Daddy Weave. I just gotten off tour with these guys. They're my buddies. They're singing a song that I just love. So I'm going like, I'm not going to let this affect my night. I'm going to worship with my friends here on the stage. So I'm singing along, and all of a sudden I go, oh no, Mark Lowry thinks I am crazy. Like I just ran up and lied and told him his whole story. So then I had to make the decision. Okay, do I find him after the show and show him the program and prove to him, or do I avoid Mark Lowry for the rest of my life? And I've chosen the latter. I've not talked to Mark Lowry now in 40 years.
Mark Lowry is so cool and chill. We met him after a show down in Lakeland, Florida. I think it was Victory Church. And he made us laugh so much. I forget how we ended up down the rabbit hole about weight. And he talked about when you tie your shoes, you know how heavy you are because your shoestring gets further and further to the edges. And since that's happened, anytime I tie my shoe and it gets a little bit, I'm like, Ooh, I
Uh, I gotta
gotta
go for a
skip a
run.
donut.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I gotta
No,
wrangle in. So yeah,
he
Mark
was
Lowry's touching
nothing
us
but
all, man.
kind. I feel like it's going to be a real fun story to tell him at some point because, like, honestly, and I tell people all the time, like, that is a better story than met Mark Lowry and he was nice and it went great. This is a much funner way to tell it. So, anyways, so yeah, so Mary, all that to say, Mary, Did You Know is one of the first Christmas songs that I love so much, and it really has set me on a trajectory to where I am right now.
Well, you have tapped into so much since leaving ministry and doing music full time. And we've seen you in different phases of this a couple of times. And you now have also written a book, and now you're going to do another album. I'm back on the tour again with Winter Jam.
Yeah.
How on earth is the head? How is it not still spinning like day? How do you navigate this process, my friend? Because this is a lot.
I've never said it's not still spinning.
Okay. Okay.
Like constantly. And the thing is, when God called me to do this full time, it was not because we had a tour bus picking us up. It's not because we had a Winter Jam asking us to go out. It's not because we had a record deal to sign or like a full calendar of dates to go do. I was a youth pastor. I did youth ministry for 9 years. Right out of high school, I became a youth pastor at 18. When I was 20, I bought a guitar because our little youth group had grown from 7 kids to about 30. And I just wanted someone to lead worship on Wednesdays so I didn't have to preach as long. So I bought a guitar, hoping one of the kids would learn it. No one in my family is musical. So they just those kids did not learn to play anything, so I thought I should learn to play a few chords. So I did. I literally like just learned a few chords so I could lead a couple worship songs. Started leading worship for other buddies of mine and stuff. And then all of a sudden, after doing it 9 years of ministry, had been married for 7 years with 2 kids, and we had no idea that we were about to have another one on the way coming up. God radically changed what faithfulness looked like in our lives. I tell people all the time, you will never stand before Jesus and him say, "Well done, thy good and successful musician, successful podcast host, successful plant worker or teacher or board member or whatever that may be." At the end of the day, our highest hope is that God will say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant," right? And so for us, faithfulness looked like selling over half of what we owned. We bought a single wide mobile home trailer. I started doing odd jobs. I was a substitute teacher. I drove a sausage delivery truck. I mowed grass on the weekends. And so that was this January 31st will be 14 years that I've been doing music full time. And can I just tell you the truth? Um, I'm doing the same thing right now that I was then. Now it looks different. I'm not driving. I had to drive the truck. When COVID came around, I was that's a more essential job. So I was prepared to pick up the keys and start driving again at some point. But my job today is the same thing as it was 14 years ago. I'm going to be faithful to what God puts in front of me today. I can't reserve my faithfulness to when something more exciting comes along and say, like, God, I don't want to play a concert for these people because if you'll give me a bigger stage, then man, I'll be so faithful to that. If God gives me this time it's my family right now, my wife and kids. I get to be faithful to them. I get to be faithful in this interview talking to you about Jesus and stuff. So at the end of the day, my head is constantly spinning, but the way that kind of keeps me grounded is going like, all right, Lord, I can't do anything about yesterday. I cannot control tomorrow when I haven't promised tomorrow. So let me just use the breath that you've given me right now to love well, to serve well, and to believe well in the things that you're putting in front of me.
Because as Christians, we get like, I don't know, the holier than thou label, and we're judging, we're trying to rule people's lives, whatever. And one of the things that I like to go to is like the testimonies and the things that people have said and they experienced. And one of yours always struck me because it's one of those. So Micah Tyler's a liar, right? It's my response to people. 87 cents in the back of a bus that's overheated, and he went and bought with his last $20 ham and cheese and bread and water, correct?
And water, yeah, that's it.
And what was happening while that bottom is happening on the back of a tour bus? It didn't have AC at the time.
Yeah.
What was happening at that moment?
Yeah, so I was out on tour, my very first tour with Phil Wickham. And what people don't realize is touring is kind of a crazy schedule. You do shows on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. So you're home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, I live in Texas, so for me, anytime we get through playing a show on a Sunday night, I have to fly back to Texas. So I'm home for a day and a half, wash all my clothes, repack them, fly back to wherever the bus is, and then take off. Well, I couldn't afford to keep doing that. We really were kind of in dire straits. And so Phil was awesome. He just said, "Hey, you can sleep on the bus if you want to." Well, they forgot I was there, killed the bus. I wake up to a sweaty bus, but I also woke up to my phone blowing up with text messages saying, "Oh my gosh, you did it. You made it." My very first single, "Never Been a Moment," had just hit top 20 on the Christian charts. And people are going like, this is what you dreamed of. This is the whole thing. This is amazing. Congratulations. Then my wife calls me and I'm going, how did she know? I was going to tell her the good news. I said, hello. And she goes, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just sitting on this bus right now. And she said, well, don't spend any money. All we have is 87 cents. And I said, where? She said, to our name. And I said, what happened? And so what had happened was she had went and bought groceries the day before. She accidentally paid a light bill twice. And so it just zapped our money. We had nothing. So I had $40 in merch cash in my pocket, and I spent 20 of it on, walked about a mile down to a food line, bought bread, ham, cheese, and water, walked back. And I remember in the dark on a bus that's not running, sweating my tail off, eating a ham and cheese sandwich in the dark. I just out loud said, I made it. And so like I kind of reached what it was. But, again, it is even in that moment, man, Jesus was so faithful. You know why? I had a sandwich. I had water. I had people that were believing in my song. And I told my wife, I said, "Hey, the good news is we bought groceries and we have extra light bill paid now. Like let's try to look at things with perspective, because John 16:33 is two promises tucked into one scripture that Jesus himself said, and it's one of those that I think that we forget. Jesus said, "In this world there will be trouble." That is not, hey, if you're lucky enough, you can just skirt by all the trouble. A guarantee from Jesus is that we will not walk out of this place unscathed, that we are going to walk through valleys low, that we are going to have the shadow of death on our heels, that the sting of death is trying to pierce us when it gets a chance. But I love that that's not the only promise in that scripture. Jesus, the great promise keeper, says, in this world there will be trouble, but take heart because I have overcome the world. So he invites us to the victory that has already been handed to him, that he has already earned, gained, and now invites us to that same table, so that in this world there will be trouble, but we get to take heart because Jesus is here too. So if you're walking through something tough, like I have so many stories where I feel like I got one foot on a mountain and one foot in the valley all at the same time. But man, Jesus is the God of the mountain and he's the God of the valley too. We get to know that he is with us no matter where we go. As long as we fix our eyes on him, there's still something worth being faithful to.
We are going right there, because I have another example. Because folks, let me tell you what, this dude is so real. I mean, I'm telling you what, he's the same in this conversation as he was the first time we met him. We met you first time we ever talked to you face to face, and you were out on with Big Daddy Weave. The hurricane fiasco is happening at home. You at least talked about it.
Yeah.
We were in line, and the press thing. I don't play I'm press, and I'm just, that's never been my scene. And we're watching you, folks. He is taking prayer requests and writing them on his hands in his arm. A dude that, I mean, trying to figure out how the home's going with the hurricane hitting Houston, all this stuff. I mean, it was just insane. And I think that because you've done youth ministry, but talk a little bit about that for folks. Like you said, I think what you've already said, I think is great, but let's just keep unpacking that for folks who just feel sometimes like, maybe there's a free pass and Christianity is supposed to be some sort of like go around the board for free thing, or that none of this is scriptural. And I sometimes feel like us just being Jesus in the room is about the best we can do sometimes. And I think that you've experienced that so many times. I've witnessed you doing this. That's why I wanted to bring it to the forefront.
Yeah. I mean, I listen, if you come out to Winter Jam and come see me on a concert, the only difference between me and you is 5 feet of stage. I am walking through this. We have battles that we're going through right now. I know what it feels like to walk through sickness with family members. I know what it feels like for a hurricane to devastate our home, for us not to know. I wrote Even Then a year and a half before we walk through the flood. People think that I wrote the song Even Then after we walk through floods, because the lyric says, and even when the waters won't stop rising, and even when I'm caught in the dead of night, I know no matter how this ends, you're with me even then. I tell people, I said, hey, if I knew I was going to have to live out whatever song I wrote that day, I probably would have written a happier song and not had to go through floods.
We needed some dancing and not some floodwaters coming through the house.
Even if I trip on a pile of money or something like that. Like, that'd be a fun way to fall, right? No. At the end of the day, brother, I'm just trying to explain to everyone, like, I think that I get looked at as a professional Christian. But goodness gracious, if we could just learn the quote unquote heroes of the faith were the stutterers. They were the outcast. They were I mean, listen, Jacob is a name that is still completely synonymous with someone who is part of the lineage of the story of God. And he came out grabbing a heel, and he was just kind of the worst the whole time. But there is something redemptive that God is able to use in him, that these heroes of the faith walked through and made some of the poorest decisions. And listen, I am no way a varsity level Christian. I wish I had the faith of Paul, where I could look at the people around me and go, you follow me as I follow Jesus. And there are certain days where I can say that, and there's certain days where I am literally laying there on the floor asking for the same help and guidance to navigate some of these situations. My brother Daniel has been battling cancer for nearly 8 years, and we are most likely nearing the end of that journey with him. And so when in this world there is trouble, so what do we do? Like, it's a decision that we have to make. So when I walk into a writer's room, I'm not trying to think, what's the thing that's going to get me the most applause when I sing it on stage? For me, I'm going like, what is part of my story that's a part of all of our stories? So that's why you hear lines in my songs that just say, I want to be different, I want to be changed. Because I meet people all the time that go, man, I need to change my circumstances, but I can't compare myself to the things of this world. When I say, the verdict was guilty, case closed, the end, no chance for me to ever leave this prison of my sin. I know what it feels like to be locked up, whether it is by an addiction or by a choice, by a bad decision or a circumstance. I know what it feels like to feel trapped. But I'm learning the more and more that I shout about the story and the heartbreaks that we walk through. I can't tell you how many people I've met where I am writing their name on my hand because their brother's battling cancer. They've been devastated by a storm. They have a loved person who's walking through the battle with addiction. So at the end of the day, we are not meant to walk this world alone. That's why it's called the family of God. It's because there are brothers and sisters all around us who are walking through the same hard things, but have the same Jesus that is available to us to love, to trust, and to walk through every single valley with.
Yeah, brother. I didn't know if you were going to talk about your brother or not. It's going to wait till the end, and we could talk offline about that. But I'm glad that you kind of brought it up because it's a thing that you've put out there, and you could be transparent about, so other folks can understand and relate to that. And I think that's a positive. But not everybody's like that.
Yeah, I mean,
It
listen,
it
I hate it. I hate talking about cancer and hurricanes. I really
yeah
do. But I've learned that Jesus did not give us stories so that we could feel isolated. The enemy does that. The enemy
mm,
wants us to feel like we're the only ones going through these things. And so sometimes for me, I talk about it and there are people who can surround me and help me. And sometimes I talk about it and there are other people who can hurt alongside of me because they're hurting too. And there's something beautiful in that. There's something, it's like whenever you go to a funeral and you see your loved ones around you crying over the same casket or celebrating the same life and everything. At the end of the day, you at least have someone that you can put your arm around that knows how you feel. And so, as much as I hate, the sting of, listen, I hate cancer more than anybody. I as much as anybody else does, hate it. But at the
yeah.
same time, I do know that I've learned to trust Jesus more because of cancer and hurricanes, than I did without him. Now, if I could get rid of it and never have to go through it again, and we could just walk on the other side of this, man, I would take that road in a heartbeat. But I'm also learning more and more that God is worth trusting, that the things that he walks us through are for our good. And it's not because of our goodness that we get to walk out of them. Our circumstances are not dictated by how good we are. In fact, if that was the case, then we would have never known salvation in the first place, because Romans 5:8 says that God demonstrates his great love for us in this way, that while we were still sinners, that's when Jesus died for us. It's not the better future version of us. It's not the one who has everything together. It's not the one who has all the right I's dotted and the T's crossed and everything is lined up, all the ducks are in a row. And now, just now, Jesus can love us. In fact, it says that he loved us at the complete deepest woe of our despair, in the middle of our lostness. That's when Jesus found us. So again, my job is to brag all the more in my weakness, because his strength is made perfect in that. And it's hard for me to talk about from time to time, but at the same time, man, we know that God's victory is in the midst of those feelings of defeat for us, knowing that ultimately we get to walk in the victory too.
Well, folks, I don't want to leave things down. I want things to seem that no, this dude, he knows how to rock a good time. So I wanted to share with everybody. We'll do a little tease, and then we'll get
Yeah.
into what my favorite part is: how this guy went viral.
MILLENNIAL. Gotta love millennial.
Listen.
You can Google it, Micah
Uh,
Tyler and millennials. Now, before we get too much further, I do want to show Micah my favorite part. So I don't know if you named your different personas, but it's the second one in. So this was my favorite part.
27 years old, trying to make it on their own.
It's
Little
gold.
mouth trumpet, right?
It's gold, brother. It's just gold. It's just freaking gold. Like
That's what happens.
the first time we ever saw you do that, I think, was Universal's Rock the Universe, and you come out. So if you've ever been to Rock the Universe, folks, there's a lot of spectacle. There's like 5 stages. There's all sorts of shenanigans or whatever. And then I think it's like midday. Micah just walks out with his guitar. I don't have a band. It's just me. I'm Micah Tyler from Houston. I'm going to do my song now. And then he does this thing on the screen, and it was fantastic. It was the first time we'd ever seen you do it. So it was really fun. Brother, I mean,
listen, if 8 years later you still remember it, then we did our job that day. I mean,
100%.
I actually did a whole tour with Mercy, me and Crowder. I got invited to do that in 2019. We had 61 shows to do, and they said, "Hey, bring a band, whatever." And all I kept thinking of was, if I were to bring a band, because I would have had a 3-piece band, me and 2 other guys, and I go, I'm just going to do a smaller version of what Crowder's doing. And then Crowder gets on stage and he's throwing chains into buckets, and it looks like somebody kicked over an ant, but they're just running all over the place up there, and it's an incredible show. Then Mercy Me comes out, and they've got 75-foot LED walls, and they've got the biggest hits in the history of Christian music. And so I was like, instead of me doing a smaller version, what if we just try something out? So I literally went in and recorded all my songs, a cappella versions. And then I wheeled a TV out, and me and 3 other Micahs took the stage for 20 minutes and laughed and told stories. And I had a whole bit about Bart calling me in the middle of the set because I covered I Can Only Imagine. This is a whole thing. But, if the fact that you still remember it, that means that we can check that one off the list. We did a good job that day. And it's a fun way to be like, hey, this guy's a little different altogether. And it kind of sets up the song different, too. So it kind of worked out for me.
And that's what you get, folks. You get the seriousness that we talked about in the first part, and the transparency and all that, and then you get some of the silliness. And I have to be honest, I'm going to ask for some silliness, and I'm not going to be like Wally, because Wally's my favorite. That he took you down the avenue where you talked about almost being on Biggest Loser, and then had you do a parody of a donut song. I'm like, only Wally. I mean.
Yeah, no.
Yes, so, and I'm going to be fully transparent. I wasn't even going to tell this, but my wife just looked at me like, it is you. So to prep for things like this, folks, you try to catch up with different interviews that you might have missed, or one that you kind of had earmarked from. So you were on with Wally, and it starts, and I'm like, man, Wally sounds drunk. Something like, what is going on? So I'm like, all right, it's fine. I'll just speed it up. So I went to go change it cause I usually do everything at 1.5 and 2 speed. So I went to go change it and bump it up, and I realized I had moved it to 0.65 speed. So poor Wally, you were fine the whole time.
Yeah.
It was me, the boomer. It was okay. It's me. Okay. It's fine. But with that said, I've reached out to some of my peoples, and no one has got me the right thing. I said, I'm going to have Micah Tyler. He is he's the guy. So I need, I'm going to just do audio from this so you can make it so I don't have anything like a Pops clips. I do clips from the videos. Like I'll do a 3-hour-long stream. I'll do a little 5-minute clips. I don't have I was kind of like, I joked with one of them. I said, well, like Wayne's World would do, Pops clips, watch it, Pops clips, like and subscribe, something goofy or silly or something. So I'm going to ask Micah to give it a go. So something that would be in that sort of vein of the Micah Tyler thing. So chew on that for a minute. And,
just kind of like a promo for the show, kind of a thing.
Just the intro for a clip part, right? You know what I mean? Because you have a stream, I have songs, I do my shows, but then like for a clip, I'm like, I don't really have anything. I mean,
we can go old school jingle if you want to.
Yeah.
You can watch them for hours, but here is the tops. Here's a little piece of some time with Pops. That's amazing.
I'll have to squeeze that together.
Yeah. Clip all that. Throw a little tune on there. Make it 0.65. I talk too fast anyway.
No. So, all right. Well, I tell you what, folks. Winter Jam Students thing. Go over to Mike. All the links will be there in the description. You can make sure you catch up to everything he's working on. It has been great to get a chance to spend time with him. Make sure you definitely connect and get out there and see those shows. It's a fantastic time. So thanks for watching, everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, Winter Jam 25. That's right. 2025 January kicks everything off. $15 at the door. It's general admission if you wait that long. Here's the artist here. Skillet, of course, is headlining with Ann Wilson, KB, Colton Dixon, and the host, Newsong, with Micah Tyler, and then a great pre-jam artist. If you get there early, you get to hear SEU Worship, the band table, and We Are Vessel. Now, the speaker this year, again, returning is Zane Black. He is phenomenal. He was there previously, does such a great job. So you are going to be blessed if you hang in there for that. Now, let's get to this tour date. Starts off in January 10th in Columbia, South Carolina, before it heads down into Florida for a show in Tampa and Jacksonville. Returning the following week and going across the Midwest out with Missouri and Michigan dates before heading down through Kentucky, Ohio, North Carolina, and Indiana. Then before heading into February, we go to Kentucky again, returning to Michigan, back in Indiana for a few more days before heading back south. February 8th, we'll be down in Atlanta. We're headed over to Roanoke the following week. Roanoke, Virginia, Raleigh, North Carolina, and Greensboro, North Carolina, Birmingham, Alabama. Then back to South Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi. So we have all sorts of dates all across the eastern side of the country. It's great to go to Louisiana, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and then they end, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee on March 23rd. So as you can see, just a ton of dates, ton of different locations. They're going to be out on the road, a great experience. And the thing I always liked about this is that it is one of those things where if you are a fan of any particular genre or artist, there's something for you. If you are not a fan of, let's say, the performance that's happening right now, or you want a break, you can go walk around. There's different vendors, there's artist tables, there's tons of merch, there's things to do. Each of these shows are just like a showcase for a great time for the entire family. If you're a Christian or not, I think it's a great experience for everyone. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.